Morning. Thanks to JJ for allotting me enough time to sing a song, and thank you for everybody who spoke between JJ and myself so I didn't have to immediately follow him. This song is one of my old audition songs, and it's really hard and it's really early, so be forgiving. There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on. Empty chairs at empty tables. Now my friends are dead and gone. Here they talked of revolution. Here it was they lit the flame. Here they sang about tomorrow, and tomorrow never came. For on the table in the corner, they could see a world reborn. And they rose with voices ringing, and I can hear them now, the very words that they had sung became their last communion on the lonely barricade at dawn. My friends, forgive me that I live and you are gone. There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on. Phantom faces at the window. Phantom shadows on the floor. Where my friends will sing no more. Oh, my friends, don't ask me what your sacrifice was for. Empty chairs at empty tables, where my friends will sing no more. So for those of you who don't know, I used to have a bit of a professional music career, as much as opera singers can actually get paid in the United States, which isn't much. I make more blogging for a living. But I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to even start singing right now, I'm old, I don't have time to get well. I actually didn't start singing until I was 21. I entered college as a theater major, and a fairly decent theater major at that. Funny story, I was on theater scholarship when I entered college, or one of the small theater scholarships they give out. And I was in my first theater class, feeling all big and bad, and we were going around telling each other our names, and I said, my name's J.T. Eberhard. My teacher asked, what's your full name? And I said, that's just J.T. She said, no, what's your full name? I said, well, it's John Thomas. And right in front of everybody, she says, did you know that's British slang for penis? And it turns out it was true. You can look it up. In the United States, people who are named Richard can also be called Dick, which is euphemistic for an unnamed portion of the male anatomy. And Monty Python does this whole slew of routines on their John Thomases, so that was my introduction to college as an actor. Later in college, I was dating this woman who was perhaps the best vocal student to have ever come through my college, and she was doing the opera that summer. There's an acting role, it was Deflator Mouse, and the acting role was Frosh the Jailer, and she nudged me to audition for it, and I auditioned for the part, and I got it. And unbeknownst to me, the director of that show was Eva Pearl Yaden, who had had a tremendous career in Europe. She was the teacher that everybody came to this college to study with, and hoped upon hope when they auditioned for their placements, they would get placed with her. For those of you who don't know, at the time, the going rate for private voice lessons was about $35 a half hour. It's now about $50 a half hour. And if you can teach voice, you can make a fair amount of money. At the time, she made $100 per half hour for private voice lessons. So we finished the show, and it was probably one of my better shows ever. I was really happy with my work there. And as was my habit, I was usually one of the last people there helping put stuff away. And after the last show, it was pretty much just her and me in the room, and she walks up to me and says, "Do you know how to sing?" I said, "No." And she asked me if I wanted to learn. I said, "Sure," because for me, acting is about telling a story and making a connection with the audience, and I think there's no better way to do that than through song. I think you can relate to people a lot more and express a lot more emotion if you have the music behind you. And I always admired the people who could. And so she started teaching me, and I'm not a wealthy person, I've never been a wealthy person. And at first it was like, oh, you just pay me when you can. And after a few months, I tried to pay her something, and she refused. And it was less than 2 years. I was very lucky as a voice student. I hadn't had a previous teacher to teach me some bad habits that I needed to unlearn. I was kind of a fresh slate. And so less than 2 years, I had been accepted into the Springfield Regional Opera's Young Artist Program. I was doing professional work and getting paid for it. And it just really turned my life around. It introduced me to a love, to my purpose in college. And she never accepted a cent from me. And this ended very, very abruptly. When I got to school one day, and there was a sign on her door that said all of her classes were canceled for that day. She'd had an aneurysm just out of the blue and died that day. Yeah, it sucks, right? Aren't we all happy to be at Oasis? Whee! So as I got older, people asked me for voice instruction. And I realized that, I've always said there's no heavens and no hells aside from the ones we create for ourselves. There are real heavens, real hells, but they're the ones we produce by our own actions here on earth. There's no way for a person to live on after death except by maintaining the standard of what they chose to do with their life. And so up until recently, I've never ever charged for a voice lesson. I guess to me, I'm so manly. To me, that's how I keep Pearl alive. By keeping her legacy alive and by passing on all this wisdom that she just gave to me. So, yeah, there's my community moment. This is the beauty of paying it forward. It's how we keep people alive. It's how we inject their legacy into our own lives. And if you ever hear someone say, you atheists, you have no purpose in your life, that's it, right there. So thanks.